Have you been listening to my and other people's podcasts and wondered what it would be like to host your own podcast, but didn't even know where to begin? My friend John Chao, host of the Perspective Maintenance podcast, is launching the Podcast Creator Course. In this course, you will learn all aspects of podcasting with a detailed step-by-step process to build the skill sets you'll need to create a professional podcast. These personalized sessions will be live and interactive, providing mentorship and tech support to make sure you are set up for success. The course starts in about a week on June 20th. To learn more, go to thejohncollective.com/course. Starting a podcast is so rewarding. I can tell you, I feel so different from 8 months ago when I first had my course with John and others, and we all stayed together and we support each other. It brings you growth and purpose in ways you never expected. And after enrolling in the course, you'll get to join me in this exclusive online community of content creators. With the support of John and the others, you'll learn to grow and get more confidence as you become a podcaster. Podcasters supporting podcasters. What could be better? And I'm here to tell you, there's nobody like John Chao to organize and support people. He's just an angel. He's been the real force behind keeping us together, and he's just so generous with his time and his energy. And I have had a peek at the curriculum for this course, and it's amazingly complete. It's been a game changer for me being a podcaster. You should DM me if you want to learn more about my experience with podcasting and how you can sign up for the Podcast Creator Course. I highly recommend it. He's a great person. He's got great people supporting him, and he's got great material. So you can't go wrong. I just wanted to make sure that I put that plug in, well-deserved plug. So check out John Chao's Podcast Creator Course. You won't be sorry. Thank you. And here's the episode of The Storied Human. Hello, and welcome to The Storied Human. This is Lynn Thompson. Today, I'm lucky enough to talk to Bob Nolley, who's going to share a lifetime of experience in and out of different careers, the things he's learned, how he's applied it, and how he's helping others. So it's going to be a great, fun conversation. We can just tell. So welcome, Bob.
Hey, Lynn, thank you so much for having me on. It's great to hear from you, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, I just feel like I already know you. And we don't really know each other, but it's
we
wonderful.
just met. Yeah.
The same kind of people get attracted to these courses. And the course that we signed up for was really neat. It was a subscription, learning about how to manage your subscription, your email lists. And that's a big part of an online business. And I learned a lot. So, but I also loved the group. Like, I just love the energy of the people. And I really I think that my podcast is turning into an entrepreneur podcast, because I always have loved entrepreneurs. And you had mentioned earlier, before I hit the record button, that, you had evaluated, maybe I don't need to do my path the way I've been doing it. And that, it's so true. Like we're funneled into a certain kind of life, right? And we're told what we should do. I was always told to be safe, I always loved the idea of having my own business. And my parents said, oh, no, you don't want to do that. Uncle so-and-so did that, and he lost his shirt. I mean, there's a lot of fear for people around jumping out into your own thing. Yeah.
I said on an About Me page somewhere on a website, I said, I grew up with June and Ward Cleaver. Now, most of the people listening to this don't even know who that is, but those were the parents that Leave It to Beaver. I kind of fell into, Ward, my dad, he wasn't Ward, but, he went to work every day wearing a suit, and he came home and we had dinner together. And I don't think my mom was wearing a shirtwaist dressed in pearls every time he came home, but, that's what it was. And, we went through school and behaved, and then, graduated from high school, and I had the opportunity to go to college, and, which was great. Then I got out of college and looked for a job according to schedule, and I got married, and I had a child according to schedule. Then at some point, life just told me, you could make your own schedule. And And, I ended up separating at the time, and that was painful, but everybody's still fine now. And I've started to follow a path that I wasn't expecting to follow at some point. And, back in the beginning, we talked about currently now, I'm a project manager. And a project manager, my mom and dad are still alive. And a project manager, my mom will ask me, what is a project manager? Being so proud of her son. And I say, I make sure people do their job. And no matter what industry you're in, that is what a project manager does. And there's such a huge amount of leadership foisted into that. But it's managing through relationships.
Yeah.
And now I've kind of come full circle and looked at my own career from part-time jobs I had in high school, and realized I've been on this kind of leadership theme, not track. I've never been destined for the top box on the org chart, but I've been interested in this for a long time. And I just, didn't respect it as soon as I might have otherwise.
That is so interesting to use the word respect. You didn't respect it. We have these thoughts, right? We notice these things about ourselves, but we don't allow ourselves to take them seriously.
No.
Yeah.
And you just go because the mental models you have in your life, whether it be parental or environmental or whatever it is for you personally, they are so strong. Changing them is painful.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for you to go, I guess I better go to college now. And I didn't do very well my first year at college. In fact, one summer, the dean called me. I'm not going to get into too much detail here. I had to go to summer school to stay in. And she said, maybe you should take a year off. College isn't for everybody. And I just went, oh, heck no, I'm coming. So I did the work and I got back on track barely and graduated on time, barely. So when I went on to work in higher ed and somebody heard I was the dean at a local university here, they were like, I don't believe you. I mean, my fraternity brothers are going, could I see some ID, please? There's no way you're doing anything in the academic world. So that was another fork in the road there.
But sometimes I think we're too young to go to college. You know what I mean? Like some of us,
right?
I was the same way. I was like, what am I doing here? And I told my parents I wasn't sure I wanted to stay. And they said, they bribed me. First time they ever did that in their whole life. They said, look, if you go back, I said, I'll take a year off. And they said, if you go back after a semester, we'll pay for your rent for your apartment off campus. And, sweet deal, right? So I was like, okay, right. I'm not stupid. But the semester off really helped. It was really good. And I made a lot of money and I bought a car and I waitressed. I got a good skill. I mean, sometimes you have to take a breather.
You do. And I think I did that, but it was kind of cloaked because my first year when I was at the University of Virginia, my first year there, I realized I needed to get some money. I had no cash flow coming in. I mean, I had, my tuition was being paid and by, thankful enough, I was living in a dorm, but I had like, $10 a week. And I had a girlfriend at one of the, back then it was a girls' college, 100 miles away. And we would go each other up and down the road on the weekend. $10 was just not going far to live a life on the weekend when you have a girlfriend. So I'm standing there one day walking down the street from class and I see this bus come up. And it's not a city bus, it's a university bus. It's not like a school bus, it's a transit bus. And I started noticing them, but I went, those kids are so cool that are driving because they're having a good time and all this and the radios they're playing. And they're just out driving. And I love to drive. So I applied for the job. That Christmas, I went back and went through the driver training and I got the job. So all of a sudden I was driving. I would drive a shift every day. All of a sudden, instead of having $10, I had $50 for the weekend. But I loved it so much because I kind of fell into a role of responsibility there.
Yeah.
Right after I went to that Christmas and learned how to, how to drive, they sent me on a big charter bus to New York and said, will you drive the drama club to New York?
No way.
I went, what? Okay. So, and I did, in an icy storm up the Jersey Turnpike to,
oh my gosh.
What's your exit? 16, I guess. I just drove around. So I let them off at their hotel and I was like, Where did I go now?
Oh my gosh.
I had to find a place to park. And finally I stumbled into the Port Authority and they welcomed me with open arms. But, I point to that because all of a sudden I was managing this bus service. And after, with a couple of other students, I was, managing 60 drivers and writing schedules and taking care of the buses and all these things. And that leadership role there, I learned a lot. Yes, my major in communication, I just barely squeaked out the door there. But the life I learned, behind the wheel was, at least as valuable as that.
That's a wonderful point. Sometimes the stuff we do on the side is just so instructional. We just learn even more than we thought we would. Actually, one of the jobs I had in college was I was a security guard. They needed somebody to work the night shift. And I was a night person. So I was like, I can do that. And I had to wear like a suit and stuff. And I worked in this little factory and it looked like a bunch of snake coffins. It was like these boxes that looked like snake coffins. They were extruder, like they put extruders into them. So the whole place was like, a machinery place, I guess. And I just was there, all night. And I remember just feeling pretty responsible, like I should have been afraid maybe, but I wasn't.
Yeah, that's I think you have to go. Everybody should have to go through a night job, even if you're not a night owl and you don't work that C shift all the time. You have to go do that. And I did that for a while.
I think everybody should have to be a waitress or a waiter.
So when I got out of school, I fell into financial institutions. I took one of these jobs that they call management trainees.
Oh, yeah,
which means they bring you in the door and don't pay you a hoot, but they teach you things like, I was changing oil in the fleet cars the first 2 weeks I was there.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I was working in the stock room. And then I was in the mailroom sorting mail. But the month after that, I was running the mailroom.
Oh, so, okay.
Then I moved into check processing, which is a big deal. I mean, it's all image now, but back then check processing was a huge deal because of the cost involved. And I was managing people through that. So I got into financial institutions, that way as well. But at some point along the line, it broke down. At some point, one of the big companies that I was spending time with said they need to downsize. So they cut hundreds of people loose, of people. And I came home that day and I looked at the two kids and I looked at my wife and I said, well, I'm out. So they went, well, you'll find something. You'll find something for sure. And I went, yeah, I was. So when you start a job hunt, there's a lot to do. You got to get your paper together and you do the shotgun blast out to all your network and you do the LinkedIn thing and, you're talking to recruiters, everyone that could help you find a job, you're out there doing it, but then you have to wait.
It's awful.
Then you have to wait. And it's really tough to wait. So people were telling me, you'll find something. The market looks like about 6 months now. So 6 months. I was like, 6 months? It's because, the math was not working out for the finances.
It's hard.
So, all of a sudden it was 9 months and I still didn't have anything. But I went to dinner with my wife one night at a social event and I met this gentleman who was very gregarious. And he says, you seem like a teacher. And I said, well, I do. I've been told that I have the teacher gene. I'm lugging that around. He goes, you should come teach with us. So a small private university, he got me an interview there with that dean. And I taught a class there. And I'm telling you, the night I walked in the door the first time, I felt like it was home. So I taught with them for a year. And the next year they go, you're the dean.
This keeps happening to you.
Yeah. But the point of this was while I was teaching that year, I had a little bit of money coming in. So what else could I do? Well, a lady I had worked with before in an organization told her friend, this was when the mortgage boom was just going, rocking the socks off the boat before the recession of 2008. This is like 2004. And she said, you need this guy. He'll do whatever you need for. So they bought me in. All I did was manage mortgage files. And I had to do 40 files a week. And I didn't ever go there. I had to go there to get my files on Monday morning. And I had to turn them in by Sunday night. So at like 5 o'clock Monday morning, me and my little wheelie cart would go in and pick up boxes of files. I'd bring them home and I'd work them during the week. And then Sunday night, I take them back up, leave them at the place. And then on top of that, somebody said, hey, why don't you teach applications for this corporate training outfit? I went, okay. So all of a sudden now I'm teaching at the first place I ran into. Now I'm teaching Excel and Microsoft Project and advanced Microsoft Word and all that application software to groups of corporate employees. And then here come the holidays, and I walked into the ABC store. For all of you in Virginia, the ABC stores are not publicly owned and operated. I mean, the government runs them.
Right.
So it's very strict thing there. So I just asked, I said, do you all need any holiday help? And holy cow, they did. So I was working in a liquor store. So now let me repaint it. I've got 4 jobs. That I pasted together. And here's the killer. I never had any time off, which is I was working every hour.
My God.
From 5 o'clock. And because the thing with bank files, I could work them in between teaching jobs in the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, when the university said, we want you to be the dean, I went, yeah, okay, great. And I could slowly peel out of those other jobs and get back into a full-time role. But I tell this story because sometimes that's what it takes. I'm talking to people now, a couple of people that are having trouble finding a job, which I'm having trouble believing because the job market now is like,
you're so here. Right. Yeah.
I'm helping them. This has been their first search in a long time. And I'm helping them get together. And I said, you need to look for anything and, paste things together. It's very possible for you.
Yeah.
If somebody in your household has got the benefit side, the healthcare side, figured for you, go paste, part-time gigs together, and it works. And because I did that for about 1.5 years, that thing from Monday morning at 5 o'clock till Sunday night late.
Yeah.
And it worked. And, it was very real. And I wasn't ever tired. I'm not saying I was exhausted from it, but I pasted it together. I was kind of proud of that.
But I hear 2 things. I hear you're not afraid to work hard. You always said yes. And you're creative. You're like, I'm going to put this together. I can figure this out. And that's, those are great skills, that hard worker and creative. Not everybody is like as creative as you. Yeah. Like you can see solutions where other people can't.
Thank you very much. That's going to be the nicest thing anybody said to me all year. Well, that's nice. Thanks. In that moment, I guess that there was some creativity there.
Yeah.
In that moment. But I think creativity comes from when you see a problem and you can stand still and think about the solution. That's what meditation is good for.
Yes.
All of a sudden it becomes clear. I mean, not all of a sudden, if you sit down and meditate for the first time, you're not going to achieve world peace. But here's the example I have. Let's say it's pouring down rain. It is pouring, a really gully washer. And you pull into your driveway in your car, and you've got to get the groceries in. So you pull up the collar around your neck, and you walk back out to the tailgate of your car, and you throw open the back, and you get like 4 bags of groceries in both arms, and somehow you shut the lid, and you go up to your front door. It is pouring now. The bags are getting soaked, and you drop your keys.
Oh, God.
Now, right there, what am I going to do? Right there, that's probably the height of your creativity, or a high point in your creativity, because you're getting clobbered by the rain. You probably paid $100 for those 4 bags of groceries that you can't afford. You don't want to let them go. And you're looking down there at those keys, let them winking at you from the floor. How do you pick them up? What do you do? Do you kind of squat with the groceries and try to, just coming up with a creative way to use your motor skills to get the door unlocked?
Problem solving.
That's a big deal. Yeah. And Dan Pink wrote a great book, and he talks about being creativity and problem solving. And it's just being still enough to let the problem unfold before you.
Yeah. But you also are one of those people that you don't limit your thinking about it. And I know that because I'm like that too. Like I think way out of the box. I think I've noticed in the corporate world that I annoy people with my creativity.
Thank you. That's right.
I'll just keep thinking of solutions. I read the most interesting definition of creativity years ago. And it was the ability to see 2 seemingly different things, to see the connections between two seemingly different things. And that is so powerful. That's a different way to think. And I think some people do that more easily. I think everyone can learn that. I believe everyone's creative. They just haven't found it. Yeah.
And let's bring the arts into that too, because I've always enjoyed writing. And so right now, I've got some fiction going on. I've got nonfiction memoir. Every old man thinks he needs to write a memoir. I have that
that's
going
great. On. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal. In terms of the fine arts, I went through my whole life just going, I don't have it at all. My brother is a conservator at I'll just say, major museum in the country.
Wow.
And he has all the art talent in the family. I mean, there's pictures that he has done that are hanging on the walls of my house. He is that talented. So I just always said, I got these gifts and he got all the art talent. All right. I was at the beach with my dad one year and he had a little watercolor set up, but he had this stack of about 200 microwave dinner trays stacked up there that he used for palettes and to rinse brushes and all. So I said, "Hey, Dad, can I use 3 of these?" And he goes, "No, they're my good ones." And I went, now you got to understand, here's somebody that came out of the Depression, and hoarding is just like a natural reflex. So he said no. So I got so ticked off. I went down to the freezer, got a dish, cooked it, ate it, washed the thing, and came back and started painting. And then I took this painting class online. And all I was doing was taking, this brightly colored acrylic paint and slashing it on the canvas with a knife. And I did several of those. And somebody said, "Hey, you got something going here." So I took a couple of lessons in town and I've sold a couple of paintings. Now, I have not even enough to make a car payment, but that was so fulfilling to me that I was able to, to create something. Somebody said, "Yeah, I want that in my living room." Something like, really? Wow.
And you're surprised, but I just love that you let that come out. Whatever that was, it needed to come out.
Yeah, that's something you always say. You don't want to be a generalist because you want to be a specialist to be successful. And I think it's a middle ground somewhere. I think if you can do maybe 3 or 4 things really well, you're fine there. Me, I think the number's bigger. I just want to try everything. I want to try everything.
This is so
For a while,
funny.
when I was doing the driver thing, I drove a 16-wheeler, not for pay. Somebody let me driving around the park lots. I said, "Oh, this feels great. I guess next is flying a plane." So I haven't flown a plane, but it's just this. I guess it's a joie de vivre I have about life. Life is good, and things will work out. I'm an optimist for sure. And there are people out there listening now where life has beaten you down and they are cussing me hard listening to this. And I feel for you. I do feel for you because I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. I was out working on my deck, putting together some deck furniture the summer before last. And it's hot. I mean, it was one of those, southern hot days. It's 95 degrees and the humidity's high. And of course, the things don't go together smoothly. And all of a sudden, I fall off the top level of the deck and I land on the lower level of the deck.
Oh, my God.
Now, I don't think I slipped or passed out at the time. I feel like I was pushed. I don't know if it was a cardiac event or respiratory, but I was out. And I was out, my wife figured it out, for about 20 minutes. So I went into the hospital. I had a concussion. This is just the beginning of COVID. And, at the beginning of COVID, I said, now would be a good time to stay out of the healthcare system.
Yeah.
So, but 2 weeks later, there I was going in there, and nobody in my family could come in, and they had beds lying in the halls everywhere. It was just as traumatic as you read about in the press. They put me in a room in the ICU, and I spent 2 days in there. And they go, "You've got a concussion." I went through MRIs and the like, and they said, "You have a broken back too."
Oh my
So
God.
I went through the therapy for the back. I went through the therapy for the concussion. I did all of that, and I stepped back, and all of a sudden I'm walking erect again. I'm back in the job full time. And then my doctor looks at me and goes, "You got cancer and we're late." I went, "Okay." So I started looking for a doctor in a process, and where are my best chances? And I went chasing that. So I tell that, my story's different, but everybody that is on the mat going, don't be such a Pollyanna, Bob.
I know.
I
Me
encourage
too.
you to find a way to get up off the mat.
Yes.
Right.
I had cancer 4 years ago, and my husband and I were laid off the same year. And I was laid off a week before my third breast surgery. And I had to find another job. And so I did radiation during my job. I got a contract job, and I would go at lunch for a long lunch and do my radiation, then come back and work late. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying when there's two things that happen, I think. It depends where you're at in your life. Like I was in a pretty good place, in spite of the fact that we both got laid off. My husband got a job right away. And he had then he wasn't looking. He had a really long notice. He had 6 months. So we were okay with that. And I knew I could get through the surgery. I had a lot of support from him. I was just in a good place. I felt strong. I felt, positive. And so I could get through it. It wasn't that hard. But I do understand that if you're not in a good place, and these things happen to you, it's tough. It's tough to get through.
Hey, I've talked about all these concepts, and I know your listeners have really have enjoyed gleaning things from all the conversations you've shared with them on all your episodes. I will do this. I'm going to create a piece for them that I will give you the link to. And since I'm saying this right now and I haven't done it, I will just create it and let you put it in your show notes.
Okay.
And the leadership program I have, it will either be, I'll give them a chunk of that, or I'll give them a coupon for it, or something like that, just so they can have a taste of what the possibilities might be.
I love that.
And, right now, this is where I should be. Go to bobnolley.com/Sarada. And, if I was better prepared, I would do that. But I'll give it to you and let you put it in your show notes.
Okay. And if you have anything else, just let me know. I love to tell my readers if we mention anything like the Daniel Pink book, I'd love to put that in the show notes, whatever we can do to help my readers. I said readers because I'm a writer first. I'm really a writer, and I forget to say episode and listeners. But I love this. I love this. And I could totally relate to so much of what you talk about because, I'm not young and I fell into this and I love it. And I never would have thought that I love writing, right? I'm a creative writer and a technical writer. And I write on medium.com and I had a blog for 4 years.
Oh my God. Okay.
You do?
Yep.
Wow.
Say we could follow us there. I'll make sure I look you up.
That's so cool. Do you have a linked tree? The place where you can gather your links? It's really cool.
Okay.
I should send that.
I should do that.
And
yeah. Okay.
We can cut this out. Like we don't have to talk.
That's all right. That's all right. We're helping people learn stuff.
No, but I can edit stuff too. Like I just had an interview. Bob, you're going to crack up. I had this interview with someone I know pretty well. She's in another group, another class I had, and she's a counselor. And she posts these wonderful things on Instagram about taking care of yourself. And they're so practical and they're so good. And I look forward to them. It's called Templates for Life. And she's such a kind, sweet person. So I said, Heather, I really want to interview you because May was Mental Health Month. And I wanted to cover some of those things, how to take care of yourself during these times. I mean, people need to remember how to de-stress and get with nature and do what you can to stay well. Well, she is so interesting that she just got me thinking about all these things. And I talked so much because she's a counselor and she listened to me, right? That when I went back to edit the recording, I was like, no. I cut like so much of me out. And I thought, I probably wouldn't have done that at 25, right?
No, sure.
But it's in my 60s, yes. I don't have an ego like I had. And it was so good to see. And I laughed as I did it. I said, that's really interesting, Lynn, but we don't need that right now. It's like, this is not serving the interview. So I was like, what I ended up doing was giving her fodder to talk about. And I set her up to talk about stuff, but I didn't do it on purpose. She's just so much fun to talk to. So don't worry, I'll take myself out. I'll probably take this whole thing out. I think that's what I love the most about this process is that I'm learning how to edit audio the way I love to edit words, And it's so there, I can relate to you so much. My son just graduated with a master's in communication.
Congratulations, Mom. Congratulations.
Multimedia journalism. And my husband's a technical trainer, and he was a tech writer for years. I'm a technical writer. We're communication people, and we always complain about how it's hard to be a generalist in this world where people go, you have to have a passion. You know, it's like a single-minded passion. And I'm like, well, I'm interested a little bit in everything, you know?
I'm only showing the tip of the iceberg here. You know, for example, my attraction to the microphone was just me being a slave to AM radio back in the 60s.
I was going to ask what you did in your younger life. Yeah. Because sometimes we come back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I just, I grew up then, and my mom got really upset with me one night. I remember it right down when I was like in first grade, because I could only talk about the Beatles and baseball to her. She like said, don't you think about anything else? Now, my mom is a very erudite, well-read woman, but yes, I really ticked her off right there. So yeah, the Kennedy assassination was a big historic event in the early 60s. But I mean, when the Beatles landed the next year, I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it.
Well, we lived right on top of DC when that happened. And I remember it, even though I was really young. I was 6 years old, and I was watching my mother crumple against the door frame. And I realized that it had a significance I couldn't even grasp. To be so close to it. And also, you know how you were June and Ward Cleaver?
June and Ward, yeah.
We were the Kennedys. You know, we were the same age. We were about the same age.
Right.
My parents were real cute and young. We were the Kennedys. You know, we related to them so much. So I think a lot of people took it personally when he got shot.
Yeah, that's a real milestone. I don't think there was another milestone. Of course, there were the other shootings in the 60s, Brother Bobby and Dr. King. Yeah. But then, we kind of got fat there until 9/11.
Yeah.
And then, it just takes a while. These events catch us off guard, and we really have to stay grounded through that. And, my last plug here is going to be for meditation in the leadership space. People look at that or hear that and they go, I'm not going to sit in my office in the lotus position and go home for 30 minutes in the morning to get started. And there are many different ways you did it. And I was introduced to it through the app Calm, CLAM, and I don't get anything for that. So check that out, because there are a couple of things in the front end there on the landing page. One is Tamara Levitt, who's this nice Canadian lady, and it was her voice in my ear. I had a string of 1,000 days in a row that I started my day with Calm.
Whoa.
And a couple of things I got out of it. The focus, my ability to focus just went astronomical. And when you're a generalist and you're subject to the shiny rabbit rule or whatever it is, it's like, oh, what's that? No, so focus was a big deal. The second thing was I was just able to calm my irritations and not, fly off the handle as badly as I had in the past. And I went on to learn a lot about meditation for pain use as well. And they had some experience there. So if you don't, go find your gift there. I would encourage everyone, just go check it out. It's free. Go check it out and just try to start the habit and see what helps you, because it's just stillness and everything seems to clear up.
I love that. So I have another question I love to ask people. Yeah. What was the 8-year-old Bob like? What did you like to do? What kind of kid were you?
I was a good kid. I made good grades and I behaved, and I wasn't a troublemaker. I left that to my younger brother. He was the second child in the middle. So it was him. He was the stories. I'm start rolling out those stories. But I just loved things I loved. I loved music. I was living in that gap between folk music and the Beatles landing. So I loved all of that. And I actually got a little, not a toy guitar, a real guitar, but, a cheap one. And I learned how to play chords. And, I thought, I could be the next Paul McCartney. Sure, he's the cute one. So I love that. And I love baseball. I watch, people say baseball today. I mean, we've got 7,000 channels on TV, and you could see any team in the nation anytime you want.
It's crazy. Yeah.
But back then, you had one game a week.
Yeah.
It was the CBS game of the week, and they owned a piece of the Yankees. So they were only on if the Yankees were home on that.
That's crazy too to me.
Longer. Yep. And now, I just look at my phone and look at Yahoo Sports and go, what did the Orioles do last night? Yeah, I'm just, I want to get closer to the game with that. Maybe I'll watch something tonight.
And you learned well, you did well in school. It seems to me that wherever they put you, you learn what you need to learn, and you go beyond that, and they go, hey, do you want this higher position? You're one of those people that just,
that's what I think that came from learning. Yeah.
You bloom where you're planted. Yeah. You bloom. Yeah. You remind me a little bit of my daughter, because whatever job she ever got, they just piled more on her. They were like, oh, she's reliable. Even when she was really young, they just asked her to do more and more and more. And you're just that kind of person. And that's a wonderful thing, because you can make your way through all these adventures.
It certainly hones your problem solving skills. I'm sure it's done that for her. My wife warns me now. She goes, remember, you don't suffer stupid people. And I went, yeah, I know. So I do have to be careful. I have to be careful, particularly in this age when all the stupid people seem to be sticking their heads up and
there's a lot of
making their point. That's all.
And they're vocal. Yeah. They're vocal.
Yep. Yeah. That's it.
So now you're in the leadership space, right? And you do coaching. Is that what you're?
Yeah, I have a few clients that, they're people that have just come to me. I'm really not out there making a pitch for it, because I'm still doing the 9 to 5 thing, because that's a fit for us in the family here right now. So I'm working with a few people, but I just there's a message I want to get out. And that's why I met you in the subscribe class. And that's why I'm going to be rolling out a membership site or a course. It'll probably be both, that just talks about these skills that you can use that are leadership like, but they're really lifelike. The people I've worked with, that want leadership coaches, you think, all right, they're going to talk about marketing or strategy, because the guys that get into the top seat, the CEO seat in organizations, are those that usually come out of sales. If not sales, it's finance. So they're all about sales, marketing, strat, finance. So I found that's not true. The one thing they want help with is, guess what? You know what the A word is. It's communication. They want that. Stanford University surveyed all the Fortune 500 CEOs. They said, if you had a coach, what would you mostly want help with? And it was communication.
That's amazing.
So what's really needed is, these guys want a life coach in the workplace.
Yeah.
That's what it
brilliant.
is.
Yeah. They need that. And you said it in the beginning of the interview, it's a relationship. It's understanding how to build those relationships that help you succeed.
Yeah.
And that's all about communication. And you're adding that really important, I guess I would say cinnamon or spice. You're adding the mindset, to have that, to come to it with the right mindset. And I just hear that over and over with people who are successful. I keep hearing, I hear a couple things. Do you get up early? I hear people get up early.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you got that secret.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I'm fascinated by that. People get up early. They have a morning routine, which often includes meditation.
Yep.
They're good to themselves.
Even working from home full time, when I get up, then that's my time.
Yeah.
It is my time.
Yeah.
And, I'll get up and I'll make you breakfast and make you a cup of coffee in a little while, but right there, that's my time. And that's helpful.
I think you can help people just by being yourself. You have so much to offer, and you can show people how to center themselves. You feel, to me, like someone who's very centered.
Thank you so much. The authenticity is so important. If you rank all the leadership traits that you think is most important, the number one that comes up at the top is trust. Yeah. And I think the trick is how you develop that trust, because it has to be earned. It's not given.
Right.
So, we talk a little bit about that. It has to be real. How you get to that point. And of course, now that we're in the internet marketing space here, people are going, well, I'm not interested in leadership because that's not helping me get my list bigger, or that's not helping me design a WordPress plugin that will let me maintain my site easier, or that's not helping me, publish 100 podcast episodes a day, some tool that makes it faster. But there is a niche for this in the entrepreneurial world too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to cover that in the work we've got coming on. So I'm excited.
I think you're also going to touch upon the other course I took was Kathy Heller's course. It was a longer course supposedly about podcasting, but it was a whole lot about mindset, having the right mindset, believing you can do something, having that abundance mindset. And she talked very much about it's not how many people you have or how many customers, it's the quality. You got to get people that you want, people that will follow you, people that really are attracted to what you have to offer. You want that quality connection. And that really turned my head. I loved how she talked about that because I don't really know how else to do it. I'm not a chase the numbers kind of person. So
sure. But let's talk about that. If you and I could go buy solo ads and we could get 2,000 people on our mailing list that are great people, but may or may not be interested in us. But I would rather have just 100 people that like what I'm saying and that, are engaged and active over those 2,000 people any day of the week.
That's so important. And you figured it out. I mean, you figured a lot of this out. I had to take a course.
No, that's all right. It's the execution part that's catching up with me now. So I may have figured it out.
Yeah, there's a lot going on and we're both working full time. So
yep.
It's a lot. Well, thank you for talking to me. And if there's anything
this is going to be the highlight of my day and my week and the weekend as well. So thank you so much for the invitation.
I loved it. And I somehow knew I would. And I'm going to mention, if there's anything that you want me to mention, what I'd like to mention is how much fun it was talking to Bob. And I'm pretty amazed at everything that he's done. And I love his impulse to reach out to the rest of us and try to teach us how to do it, how to get better at some of these things, how to implement leadership no matter what position we have, how to navigate the world of trying to find a job. I mean, he's just super helpful. He's all over the place. You can learn more about Bob by going to labradorleadership.com. That's his website that includes a link to his blog. It also includes a link to his podcasts. He has a lot of them. And as you can tell, he's really fun to listen to. So go check that out. And I will definitely post a coupon or a link to a special My Reader only offering that he's doing. So you can check that out too in the show notes. So as always, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And until the next time, this is Lynn Thompson with The Storied Human saying bye and thank you for listening.